Hey folks, this is the one and only Warwolf howling out at you. We're doing ourselves yet another video, and what are we doing in this video? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We're doing ourselves a review of All Elite Wrestling Rampage for April the 14th, 2023. So first off, let me welcome you all to the party, because this is a hell of a party. And we started tonight with a hell of a match for the IWGP Tag Team titles. The Best Friends taking on Aussie Open. Now, I don't know too much about Aussie Open. I know that this is a team of two men from the United Embassy. They called Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. I don't know too much about them. They've largely been wrestling outside of WWE and AEW to this point, but they have had a couple of matches in AEW. I don't think I've ever seen them in WWE, but obviously for those of you wondering, did they ever wrestle for WWE? If they have, I never saw them. But those are the two promotions, for the most part, that I have been watching the most of in the last couple of years. So there you go. So Aussie Open, they're part of United Embassy, and they seem to occasionally get into it with groups like, I guess you call it the Mogul Embassy now. I'm not sure what that's all about. So they're, I don't really know what's going on there with that. So you get the United Embassy, the Mogul Embassy, whatever. I'm not entirely sure what in the world that is, but or even how to deal with that, but whatever. So there was one moment here that I really do want to point out, because this was actually kind of interesting. So during the match, we get, I can only call this basically, literally, Aussie Open is in a situation where one of them, I believe it's Davis, picks up, I think it was either, I honestly don't know which one it is at this point because I can't see it in the picture, but I think it is, I think it's Chuck, but it could easily be Trent. Either way, picks him up and gets tagged in on a blind tag, and they basically do this spot where they just kind of hand off their opponent, who basically then gets suplexed afterwards. That was, I'm not going to lie, that was kind of interesting. So we got some great moments here. We get this moment where basically the Best Friends pull off a superplex without even necessarily going to the top rope. I guess you call it a three-man plex, I think. Great tag team wrestling on the sides of both teams. Aussie Open does end up retaining, but I wasn't really expecting too much different there because, again, we don't know too much about these guys. I'm still not sure if they're part of the Mogul Embassy or if they're something else, because they kind of make it seem almost like they are two different things. No, excuse me, that's United Empire. I'm getting them mixed up. I do apologize for that. So you've got the Mogul Embassy and the United Empire. I'm sorry, it's with all the different stables right now that are dealing with different letterings and everything, UE, ME, I kind of got them mixed up. So yeah, there we go. Beautiful pile driver move. It wasn't a standard execution of a pile driver, but it certainly worked. Aussie Open gets the pin, and we kind of get into this rather unique promo where we basically find out, Mark Briscoe is not happy with what Jay Lethal did this past week on Dynamite. So Jay Lethal, they had discussed possibly working together, and then all of a sudden here comes, Jeff Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Mark Briscoe really feels very, very hard done by here. And I don't blame him, because it really was a case where Lethal was kind of abusing their history together. So there's that. I think we could see them end up fighting in the very near future. But next we get the top guys. Boom. FTR. Cash and Dax. And they dropped a hell of a bombshell, actually. So you're probably wondering, okay, what bombshell did they drop? Well, they basically said they're only going to be here for about 4 years. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I will say I loved that JR, I think he's kind of been taking some rather open shots at WWE tonight on the show, referencing that it's okay for them in AEW to pay homage and respect to what came before without incurring some kind of backstage issues. I'm not sure what's going on there. Must be something that is happening in WWE, because we already know that WWE doesn't like to acknowledge the history of wrestling outside of the company unless it's based on a situation where they can't really do anything else. For example, Mickie James being at the Rumble, I think it was either this past year or the year before, where she was, in fact, the women's world champion of Impact Wrestling, and they had to acknowledge it because she came out with the damn belt, and it was on the graphic for her name card. But yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Jim Ross referencing Starrcade 1983 when FTR came out with the large amount of smoke that preceded them to the ring. I'll give them credit. That was kind of amusing. But again, yeah, FTR have basically said they've got 4 years left and then they're done with wrestling. I really hope that's not the case because, I mean, these guys are really good tag team wrestlers. They're great wrestlers, period. I'd love to see one or both of them with a singles championship. Maybe they're saying that FTR as a team is done. But again, I don't want to see that really be the case either. But I mean, if they're here for just 4 years, I hope they make the most of it. And they are saying they want to make this basically their redemption arc, that they want to, pay back the fans for 10 years of support. And, very specifically for the years that they've been in AEW, where they have had absolutely, on again, off again kind of a relationship with the fans. Of course, they were originally part of the Inner Circle. They've since parted ways from that. It was a whole thing. But yeah, I mean, if this is like basically them counting down and saying in 2027 we're done, then forewarned is forearmed. But at the same time, it would be sad to see them go, because they do look like they're still remarkably young, which means they probably still got at least another 6 to 10 years, if not more, if they stay healthy. But maybe they're deciding, they only want to do another 4 years, and then after that, they want to retire and spend time with their families, which is perfectly understandable. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. We also got a promo from the returning Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, his brother, Isaiah Cassidy, who was one half of Private Party. I don't remember who the other half is off the top of my head right now. We haven't seen him in a while, so I don't know what's going on there. And Hook. So yeah, they mentioned something rather interesting. Jeff had to undergo some kind of eye surgery. I was not even aware of this. This is complete news to me. So we find out that, I guess even though they're no longer under the direct control of the firm, in terms of their contracts, they still are technically in a situation where those contracts are technically owned by the firm. So it looks like, I don't know if that's this coming week or if it's something maybe at a future event. I think they made it as a match for this coming week on Dynamite, where if they win this match, where it's going to be against Ethan Page, Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, and Stokely Hathaway, that they are completely free of the firm, referring to Matt Hardy and Private Party. They have said this is going to be in the Hardy compound, and they're going to call it the Firm Deletion Match, which we've seen a couple of these. We've seen one in Impact Wrestling. We've seen one in WWE. This is now going to be the third such deletion match, and we'll see how that works out. We're getting a little bit of a hint of broken Matt Hardy again with his delete thing. I mean, I have no idea how that caught on, but even I was kind of wrapped up in it. And broken Matt, or later woken Matt, which is whatever. But broken Matt, I absolutely loved it. I love the broken Hardys back in Impact. So we'll see how that goes. But again, seriously, eye surgery, what the hell happened? I'll have to look into that, see if I can figure out what actually happened. I don't know if that's something that has been put out there on the net that I'm just not aware of. But, I mean, if it is or not, I'll try to figure out what's going on there. We next get a video package where both Wardlow and Hobbs are kind of cutting a promo simultaneously. They have confirmed that Wardlow is going to go after the TNT Championship this coming Wednesday. He's going to try to reclaim the belt. We'll see if he actually can get it. Next, we get, the 8-man tag, Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. Honestly, I don't really know much about the majority of their opponents that they had in the ring. The only two that I really recognized were Serpentico and Angelico. Now, Angelico, I have seen in Lucha Underground. This guy is a risk taker, and honestly, when I was watching some of the stuff they did in Lucha Underground, I'll be honest, I'm surprised this man is still alive with some of the risks that he took in that promotion. Give him all the credit in the world for doing it, but I'm still surprised the man isn't dead. I recognize Serpentico simply because I've seen him in a couple of matches so far in AEW. I liked that his mask had almost like a yellow Spider-Man kind of theme going on there. It was it was a Spider-Man webbing style to the mask, but it was still one of Serpentico's masks. Unfortunately, this was a relatively quick thing. Mark Briscoe still very much not happy with what happened here. I don't think he's going to be returning to this. I think he's going to start feuding with Sanjay, Lethal, and Jarrett, but I could be wrong. We got a video package looking back at the last few weeks with the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, and Adam Page was even in this. I do think he and the Dark Order are going to get involved in this. Maybe Adam is just going to straight up join the Elite for this because, again, they are longtime friends, so we'll see what happens there. Next, we get Taya Valkyrie. Now, she's making her big AEW splash since her debut, and she's taking on Emi Sakura. I don't know much about Emi, but I did like that both of these women wrestled very much a power style. They started off exchanging chops, shoulder blocks off the ropes. It felt almost like a match between two standard powerhouse male wrestlers, and I like that they worked with this very, very much in that same style. So we basically get Jade Cargill coming out, and I'm sorry, this woman bores me. We knew nothing about this woman in terms of who she was, what her character was when she first debuted. They've given her an undefeated streak. I think they're trying to make her something akin to Goldberg. They've even given her a championship, specifically the TBS Women's Championship, which is, yes, named for the TV station TBS, just like the men's belt is named after the TNT station, which, of course, the TNT Championship. Taya wins using the Road to Valhalla. Now, remember, this is the move that Taya and Jade have kind of been feuding over, for the lack of anything else to call it, because Jade doesn't like the fact that other wrestlers are using this move. She sees it as her move, even though she's hardly the first one to use it. And, it's not original. Because, again, Taya even brings up this match that they're having potentially for the TBS Championship in the near future. It's also probably going to revolve around who can actually nail this move. Because, Jade calls it Jaded. Taya Valkyrie is calling it Road to Valhalla. It's been called a couple of different names over the years, so there you go. Layla Gray decides to attack Taya after Taya's victory. she basically gets kicked around like a ragdoll for a little bit. In comes Jade Cargill. Basically 2-on-1 attack. Cargill uses the Road to Valkyrie, or the Jaded as she's calling it. And basically they're just still trying to build up that feud. I'm sorry, though. I'm sorry. Jade bores me. We get an announcement that Dralistico, by proxy through the assistant, I forget what his name is, to Roosh, who is Dralistico's brother, supposedly, from all I've heard anyway, is challenging El Hijo del Vikingo. I'm sorry. I can't pronounce this guy's name. So I'm just going to call him Vikingo, okay? And this is going to be for the AAA Mega Championship. Now, we've talked about that before. It looks like Vikingo is still going to be wearing that Sokka-like gear. Either that or it was the only image that AEW has of him right now. But yeah, this was confirmed that it's going to happen, and apparently it's going to happen on Dynamite or Rampage next week. I forget which. They did say that this match was going to happen. I just don't remember which show it's going to be on. We get this really cringy rap promo by the Jericho Appreciation Society, or at least 3 members of them. That's Daddy Magic Daddy Magic Matt Menard, Cool Hand Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager. Now, Jake Hager's a former world champion, folks, and I'm a little bit annoyed that he's kind of been reduced to a gimmick where he's all like, I like this hat I'm wearing. Whatever. This rap was really, really cringe. But I'll give them credit that it is kind of the thing that they would sort of have them do because they're feuding now with the Acclaimed. Speaking of, this was weird. So the Acclaimed come out, decide to eschew their normal promo. They get ready to start doing a promo rap of their own, then say, screw it, and just jump in the ring and go after them. And, I'm sorry, what the hell did I just see here? It's like they literally have Billy Gunn take out a pair of scissors and they scream, let's see how hard Daddy Magic's nipples really are. I'm sorry, what? So basically they were saying they wanted Billy Gunn to mutilate Matt Menard for, I still don't get it. I mean, like, Matt Menard, you could hear him scream, what the hell is wrong with you? It's like, okay, yeah, I can sort of agree with that because that is a little random. It's like, I'm used to somewhat strange moments in wrestling, but that was a little weird. I haven't seen anything like that since Brutus Beefcake, and even then, I mean, Brutus just wanted to cut people's hair. Like this whole, let's chop off somebody's nipples? It's like, what the hell? I've got nothing on that. I really have nothing on that. I'm not sure I want to, for that matter. Anyway, next we get ourselves the main event. And what is our main event? Shawn Spears versus Jack Perry. Now, for anybody who's been wondering where Shawn Spears is, if you've been watching AEW, I've actually kind of forgotten he was even on the roster. I'll be dead honest here. I really had forgotten he was on the roster. And that's because, well, he's been away for quite some time. So where has he been? I'm not sure. He's probably been wrestling elsewhere in professional wrestling territories. But we do know he's also now a brand new father. So congratulations to Shawn Spears on that. They say he's been out of the business potentially, being a dad. But I do think that he has been continuing the wrestling, potentially on the indies just to, keep paying the bills. And obviously he's back now in AEW. He's indicated that he is still friends with MJF, but he's put that relationship aside. And now he, much like Jungle Boy, Darby, and Sammy Guevara, the 4 pillars, he wants a shot at MJF and the world title as well. So he's now potentially, gunning for, MJF's title as well, which cannot make MJF happy, even though he says, like, I still consider Max a friend, but, he's obviously putting that to the side. So we'll see what happens. We got a good match here. I thought it was really, really impressive one way or another. And I like that they started out with a handshake. Now, obviously, this is not Ring of Honor where that's a part of their matches, where what they have the code of honor, where at the start and end of every match it's supposed to have a handshake. But I like that there was a show of respect there. And because there's been no real animosity, as far as I'm aware, between Shawn Spears and Jack Perry. I love the little bit of the mind games that both men were playing with each other. Like Shawn Spears, a lot of people might remember him as Ty Dillinger, the man who used to call himself the Perfect 10. He's still kind of using that gimmick now, but it's a little different, I think, from what he was doing with WWE, and I don't know how good of a differentiation it is, but obviously it's a very, odd thing to see him using part of his WWE gimmick, here in, AEW. But, it's happening. I love this one moment where Jim Ross, like, he makes this comment after Spears gets this DDT, basically hanging him off the top rope, almost like Randy Orton, except instead of like from the second rope, it's from the top rope. He's like, well, if Jungle Boy gets to the point where he kicks out of this, I'm going to be baffled. Jungle Boy kicks out, and immediately Ross responds with, and I'm baffled. I mean, at least he was honest. Jungle Boy gets the win. It was such a crazy back and forth that I really couldn't tell you exactly how this whole thing played out, but it looked like it was a crucifix pin to me. And then we get this at the end, a second handshake, which was pretty damned impressive. I liked it. I was very happy to see that respect is there. I don't know if this means, that Shawn is going face or if he's just not playing heel at the moment. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll wait and see, if he is going to revert to being a heel or if he's going to be, going up against, MJF at some point, if there's going to be a breakdown of that relationship. But that was Rampage for this week. We do know, again, a couple of things that are happening this coming week on Dynamite. Of course, one of them is going to be the TNT Championship. It's going to be Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs, of course, currently the reigning TNT champion. Wardlow, the former champion, really wants to get his hands on that belt once again. I do expect QT Marshall and the rest of QTV, whatever the hell they're even supposed to represent here, to get involved. So I do think Hobbs will probably retain, but that might mean that could put Wardlow on the track to potentially looking towards the World Championship, which, I mean, I don't know if he's ready for the world title yet, but I do expect at some point that he's going to get there because he's got a lot going for him already. The crowd's behind him. He's got a lot of charisma. And, he can work. So we'll have to wait and see how that whole thing works out. We know we're supposed to hear from the Elite. We know that the Mega Championship is on the line, and I don't know if it's at Dynamite or Rampage, but I believe it is at Dynamite simply because they want to give it a longer runtime. I don't think they want to just have that be the entirety, potentially, of Rampage on Friday, Saturday. They're doing a special start time event for Rampage this coming Saturday where it will be on at 10/9 Central, which is their normal start time on Fridays, which would be something like 7 p.m. Pacific, I think. I'm not really good at that conversion 3 hours back. I'm on the East Coast, and I don't normally think about, the East Coast time zone versus West Coast time zone. But, so that's, Rampage for this week. I'm very much looking forward to Dynamite for next week. I'm waiting to see what Rampage will be like. We've got, Double or Nothing coming up. We've got Forbidden Door coming up. We've got All In coming up. So, I mean, this is all stuff that we're going to see in the very near future. Very much going to be a unique situation in the next few months because, we don't know where they're going yet with the world title. I think at this point they want to keep it on MJF, but we don't know how that's going to happen just yet. By the way, anybody who has heard the rumors that CM Punk may be returning, let me stress at the moment, this is rumor only. I don't have any proof one way or another that it's happening. I know that other wrestling channels on YouTube have suggested that it's going to happen. I personally don't really care for CM Punk, but, if he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And, for those people who like Punk, if he does show up, hey, great. And for those who don't, well, nothing's really changed. So that's pretty much our situation right now. And yeah, that wraps up this week's review. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell, give me a comment, a question, a joke, a limerick, I don't care. This is the Warwolf howling out at you and saying, remember, the YouTube algorithm is the only thing we appreciate less than Jericho.